Aaron, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. What a joy. What a joy to see so many of you from so many parts of the hospital, so many disciplines, so many nuggets of what life has been about for me professionally in the last 15 years. I cannot tell you how deeply I appreciate you being here. I cannot feel more valued by all of you. Thank you so much. So maybe I can fill in a few things that maybe Aaron didn't tell you. And maybe if I start in 2009, back in those days when there was a unit in Exeter and a unit in Plymouth, and we were at war. Literally, we were enemies. I'd been 14 years a consultant general thoracic surgeon in Exeter, which I loved as a hospital, as a home. My family were all in Exeter. I'd worked single-handed for the first 6 years. Absolutely crazy in these days. You know, the advert was for a single-handed thoracic surgeon to restart a unit in Exeter, which had been closed down, and the chest physicians did not told me they didn't have the right service from Plymouth at the time. So I applied for that job, having spoken to a mentor from Huddersfield. I said, "There's this job going. It's single-handed. It's general thoracic surgery. Do you think that's sensible?" And he said, "What a dream!" And it was. It was the esophagus. It was thoracic surgery. It was a multidisciplinary surgical team of effectively brothers and sisters in arms who met and got on well and did their very best for their patients. And I loved it. I was joined about 6 years later by a colleague of mine from Germany, Peter Frischler, and the two of us were two surgeons working boxing and coxing for those 14 years. And we had 1 or 2 trainees, and it was so lovely to have trainees, but they were relatively junior. I hope I was able to influence them a little bit, and they've since gone on to have very successful careers and still occasionally contact me, which is brilliant. But I didn't really have a senior trainee. And 2009, it was great, but at the same time it was dangerous because we might be shut down. And the review came to Plymouth, interviewed my esteemed colleagues over here, interviewed us, and they were going to decide where esophageal surgery was going to be centralised. And that report took weeks and weeks and weeks to come through. I was in church on the Sunday night before the report came out, and the reading was from the Gospel. And it's the little bit where the Pharisees try and trap Jesus and say, should we pay taxes to Caesar? And Jesus asks them for a coin, a denarius. And he says, who is this person on the coin? I said, it's Caesar's. So Jesus says, pay unto Caesar what is due Caesar, and to God what is due God. And I knew from that moment that God was telling me I should come down to Plymouth and do my very best to be part of the team down here. And later on that week, that is exactly what happened. And the medical director called me in the office, and I said, yeah, I know what you're going to say. I said, what? I said, yeah, I'm going to Plymouth. He said, yeah. And what a wonderful opportunity that's been. God speaks to us in my world through his word, and it is so reliable and such a wonderful guide to us, and it has not failed once. And what a wonderful thing to have been told, this is what you need to do, Richard, go do it. And it's been fantastic. So I left Exeter as the black sheep. You know, we had been betrayed. We'd lost the unit, and we knew that the future was very damaged in many ways. I clearly see it as not been from my colleagues here who are now in Exeter. But it was very difficult. It was difficult for us as a family, and I walked out of the Royal Devon in Exeter having shut my locker door with no one saying anything. I got a couple of letters which were unexpected from unexpected sources, but I could not believe how we could work together in healthcare as professionals and disregard each other as human beings quite so rawly as that. In November, December 2009, Tim Wheatley will remember that we got together in a pub in South Devon in deep snow. Sorry?
In the snow.
In the snow. I think we towed somebody out of a snowdrift as we got there, and we went to a pie and chips night. And Tim and I sat down and we said, right, what are we going to do? What's the future? And he said, well, you come down here, I will teach you with Grant gastrectomy, you'll go to the cardiothoracic department and we will make a go of it. And both Tim and Grant have been the most wonderful, supportive colleagues to a black sheep could ever want. They have understood where I came from. So I came from a small hospital in a department where we knew our patients, and yet I would go to Exeter North Devon and see them, and they've been my patients. And through those 15 years, all of the team have allowed me to carry on with that, to be the lead surgeon for those areas. And I am deeply grateful that they allowed me to carry on that continuity of care. I was in no man's land in the cardiothoracic department. I always hated being cardiothoracic. I was thoracic and esophageal. I was in level 9. I'd go down to level 7. Tim and Grant would make me an instant coffee. They would come up to my office and I'd give them Lavazza. And Tim was no left in the box. But we had good relationships, but we were still separate. And then Tim magicked our OG office, and we were all able to move together into general surgery and upper GI as a family, and we had a home in that family office. And that was a masterstroke, Tim. And since then, those of you who come through that office will know it is a true home. It's where we all rib each other, we have banter, some of us make decent coffee. And yeah, it's something I will very, very much miss, that wonderful atmosphere in our OG office. We share problems, we share when things go wrong, we share uncertainty, and that's really special. So, you know, over the years, we have understood those things and grown together, even though we are very different personalities. In fact, complete opposites. But we value the opposite in each other, and that has been wonderful. When I came to Plymouth from Exeter, we'd been effectively leading in a minimally invasive esophagectomy. We'd done 130, we'd had 2 international meetings, we'd published the first series in British Journal of Surgery, and we were starting to try and work out how to do this safely. And Tim and Grant and Joe accepted that this new operation is something we could do, and Sergeant Wajed came with me for the first few months. We did, I think, 12, and then we had a patient with a gastric necrosis, which means that effectively their stomach is dead. And I will never forget fishing with my son Sam. by a coarse fishing lake in Exeter, and Grant ringing me and telling me on a Saturday morning, Richard, the patient's got a